Hey, it's Eamon with ipXchange, and it's time for another weekly roundup in the world of electronics. So on Sunday we had a ProjeX interview with Shaunak. On Monday it was SuperLight Photonics and their ultra-wideband laser. On Tuesday it's back to CES with Bosch with their AI-capable IMUs. And on Wednesday it was more CES coverage with the Neonode and a remarkable software solution for machine perception with your choice of commodity camera, like our one at ipXchange. And on Thursday with our usual ipXperience with Guy. And this time he was talking to OnIO, who have a remarkably low power MCU. So low power, in fact, you don't even need batteries. So here in our project setup, Harry chatted to Shaunak about his work. So as explained in that interview, he couldn't talk about his direct work for customers, but he could give us several insights into what it's like learning embedded OSs and other systems when you're trying to develop a product. And yeah, this is a really fun one to watch back on. I think one of the key takeaways from that interview was really patience, because we're always in this world where it's like fast time to market, fast development, but sometimes you just got to take the time to learn the software, learn the hardware, and do it right the first time, because if you screw up right near the beginning and you go through the whole development process, then when it comes to changing stuff, it just takes twice, 3 times as long. So yeah, enjoy that chat with Shaunak. It's a great watch and gives a very nice perspective of what it's like working in an Indian environment rather than an American or European environment. So on Monday, we posted an ipXperience interview with SuperLight Photonics, which actually really took me back to my days in 1, a laser lab, and 2, as a sales rep for a hyperspectral imaging company, because that is where this technology is really going to shine, all puns intended. So for those familiar with laser physics, a lot of the time lasers are monochromatic, so they're only one color. They'll be like red or UV, and yeah, this device from SuperLight Photonics goes from near infrared all the way to blue. I think it was 700 nanometers continuously, which is kind of incredible when you consider a lot of previous hyperspectral imaging technology that required that wide band of light sources used to do it in a scanning mechanism. This isn't that. This is one light, all wavelengths between that near IR and blue range. So you can get hyperspectral imaging done really quickly. And when I say quickly, I'm talking about like single frame, not scanning. This is a game changer for hyperspectral imaging, and other applications include medical imaging. It's kind of mind-blowing because we don't talk about lasers that much in the electronics world, but when you've worked in laser stuff and you see this, it's crazy, because this is a coherent light source. You can get so much information about what you're looking at using this light source. I can't stress enough that anyone working in imaging needs to watch this ipXperience. So on Tuesday we were back to CES talking to Bosch Sensortech, and if you haven't ever been on the Bosch Sensortech stand, they've always got some really cool demos, and this one did not disappoint. So the key component in this demo, you could argue, is the BHI-380, which is this new 6-axis IMU, which can be trained to run AI algorithms directly on chip for gesture recognition and that kind of stuff that you'd want to do with an IMU. But the whole setup itself is these 8 little wearable sensors which you can strap to your body, and it's all about full body tracking, but without the cumbersome wires, or if I said tennis ping pong ball suits, like the little bobble suits that you usually use for motion capture. And this is a really cool demo because it's a whole software platform that Bosch are providing in conjunction with these little sensors, and it really speeds time to market for applications like gaming, but also kind of sports and fitness. Rehabilitation was a key application in there. So you could, like say if you broke your leg and you were getting used to walking again, you could strap the sensors on. It would detect how you're walking and tell you if you're walking correctly to actually recover properly. So yeah, great little device. Check out the full interview. You're going to really enjoy it. You're probably wondering why I'm getting into Harry's car for this next segment. It's because on Wednesday we posted about Neonode. So if you've watched any of our previous, or read any of our previous coverage of Neonode, you'll know it's about these IR sensor bars which can basically be used to turn any surface into a touch interface. But this is rather different, because what Neonode showed at CES was a software solution that can use any crappy camera, as Per put it, such as, well, I wouldn't say this is a crappy camera, but that's an argument to be had. But any commodity camera can detect 3D faces, depth perception, be trained on any scene, and in this case it was for an in-cabin driver monitoring system, which apparently is something required for new EU regulations. So, what's special about this? Well, essentially, as I said, you can have a little camera up here and dotted around various points in the car. It can detect multiple people, it can determine their position in the vehicle, and adjust the safety features of the vehicle accordingly. So like airbags, whether the seat belt is done correctly, even the kind of like type of person in the vehicle, and that includes pets. So yeah, this is a pretty incredible solution, and one of the craziest things in the video was that Per showed, okay, imagine this steering wheel has a bunch of sensors in it, the capacitive touch sensors, so you can trigger various parts of the infotainment system from the steering wheel. That's got to be pretty difficult to repair if anything goes wrong. But if it's a tiny little crappy camera up here, that can easily be switched out, and the software's already taken care of all of that tracking for you. If it can detect the steering wheel and your position of your hands on it, then you don't need those sensors in the steering wheel anymore. You can just have it all done via camera. And this is cheaper, it's way more reliable in terms of a hardware perspective. And yeah, this is a really cool solution, and it's not just for automotive application. So check out that full interview on the ipXchange site. And on Thursday, we were back to the ipXchange studios for another ipXperience, this time with Oneo, which is a company that really could have been posted last week with the Air Fuel Alliance and Energist content, because this is an MCU that basically is marketed as requiring no power to operate, which is kind of true, because all of the power that is required can be harvested from ambient energy sources, and we're talking RF, ambient energy, your typical PV cell, photovoltaic, then thermal energy and piezoelectric energy. So these are really, really low power general purpose microcontrollers, but I want to stress that they are general purpose microcontrollers. So they've got all the functions that you'd expect, all the interfaces, they even have Bluetooth LE connectivity, but they have been designed completely from the ground up to work on harvested ambient energy. And as we discussed last week, green IoT, you got to ditch the batteries, and these solve that problem. So if you loved last week's content, I'm not going to spoil that for you. I would highly recommend watching the ipXperience on Oneo, because you're going to love this chip. It's exactly what you need if you don't want batteries in your product.
Hey, yo, where my engineers at?